What's going on, everybody? This is Cody, the home theater hobbyist, and today I have another comparison for you from Q Acoustics. This is the 3020i, that is the 3030i, and that one over there, that's the Concept 20. And in this video, I'm going to be comparing the 3000i line to the Concept 20. I also want to answer the question if it's worth the upgrade from the 3000i line to the Concept 20. And stay tuned to the end because I will be making my recommendations of which ones I think you should purchase depending on your situation. So let's get to it. Now let's talk specifications, and we'll start with the 3020i. It has a 0.9-inch tweeter and a 5-inch woofer with a frequency response from 64 Hz to 30,000 Hz. It is 10.9 inches tall, 6.7 inches wide, and 11.1 inches deep, and it weighs 10.6 pounds. It's the lowest price in this comparison at $314. Moving on to the 3030i, it has the same 0.9-inch tweeter, but the woofer size increases to 6.5 inches. It has a frequency response from 46 Hz to 30,000 Hz. It is 13 inches tall, 7.9 inches wide, and 12.8 inches deep. It weighs 13.6 pounds and costs $399. Finally, we have the Concept 20. It has a 1-inch tweeter and a 5-inch woofer with a frequency response from 64 Hz to 22,000 Hz. It is 10.4 inches tall, 6.7 inches wide, and 11.1 inches deep. It weighs 12.35 pounds, and it costs $524. Before we get too far into this video, if you enjoy product reviews, unboxings, talk about streaming media, and comparisons just like these, why don't you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can be alerted anytime we upload new content. Also, a fellow YouTuber and buddy of mine, Joe from Joe and Tell, is doing an online hi-fi trade show. So if you've always been interested in going to a trade show, now is your opportunity. It'll be going on from June 26th through the 30th, 2020, and it's called the Hi-Fi Summit. So if you want to find out more, I'll put a link in the description below and you can find out more information and also purchase your tickets. Now let's talk design. I'm going to focus on the 3020i and Concept 20 because they are similar in overall dimensions and woofer size. The 3030i and 3020i share the same design philosophy, so there's no real reason to really talk about it, so it'll just sit back here. But we'll start by talking about the overall surface finishes. The 3000i lineup comes in several different colors with a matte surface finish. Those colors are carbon black, graphite gray, Arctic white, and English walnut, both of which I have right here. While the Concept 20 line comes in two high gloss finishes, high gloss white, which I have here, and high gloss black. Both designs come with black grills, with the exception of the Arctic white from the 3000i. It comes with this light gray grill, which I like a lot, and I hope that in a future revision, the Concept 20 will switch to a light gray grill similar to the Arctic white grill here on the 3000i line. Now, one thing I do want to mention here as we talk about these design features is these were designed in two different eras, if you will. The Concept 20 was introduced in around 2013, while the 3000i was introduced in 2018. So there's a 5-year difference in design here, and you're going to notice that as I talk about these two speakers. Speaking of grills, let's talk about the front of these two speakers. And what you'll notice is that the grill covers 90% or so of the front face, with the final 10% being just the cabinet finish that looks really nice. And just below that grill, you also get the Q Acoustics logo. This is the 2013 version, and this is the 2018 version. And honestly, I like the 2018 version more than the 2013 version personally. Another change is how you attach the grills. To pull them off, you just give them a little tug. In 2013, they used prongs, and so you had 4 holes in the corners, while in 2018 with the 3000i line, they used magnets along the side of each of the grills, so it's a nice clean front face. But on the 3000i line, you have the surface finish all around the face, and you have a tweeter woofer design there, surrounded by this mirrored surface finish. And I think it looks cool because not only do you have the mirrored surface finish here, but it's the same mirrored surface finish down there with the Q Acoustic logo, so it has a nice continuity of design. Moving on to the Concept 20s, you have an aluminum faceplate here with the Q tweeter there and the woofer there. Now this aluminum faceplate is actually functional because behind the faceplate is a sheet of rubber, and what that does is it helps to reduce the cabinet resonance to produce better sound quality. So although I like the way this face looks, I like the fact that this face has more functionality between these two speakers. Now let's talk about the rear of these two speakers. The first thing you'll notice is they have the same surface finish on the back as is on the sides, top, and even on the front of the two speakers. They're both also ported with the port sitting in the center of the speaker and the binding post just below the port. Now on the 3000i line, you have the name of the speaker, the power handling capabilities, the impedance, and the serial number printed out all the way around the port, whereas on the Concept 20s, that information is found just above the binding posts themselves. They both also come with port plugs, so if they are less than 7 inches from the wall, you put the port plug in, that cleans up the bass response. But if they're greater, you can just pull them out and put them in the box for safekeeping later. Now, below the port, you have the binding post. The 3000i line comes with single binding post, whereas the Concept 20s come with dual binding posts, one for the high frequency, one for the low frequency. That allows you to buy wire or buy amp the speakers if you want to. Or obviously you can also hook them up in a single configuration as long as you keep the connectors in between the high frequency and low frequency binding post. Moving on to the bottom of the speakers, the first thing you'll notice on the 3000i line is that you have 4 feet, one on each corner, to protect the surface finish of the speaker and also the table on which it sits. In between those feet, you have 2 holes, and this allows for secure mounting with the Q Acoustics speaker stands that they sell separately for the 3000i line. Moving over to the Concept 20s, it also has feet. It's 3 feet, 2 in the front, 1 in the back, and these feet are detachable, so you can pull them off if you want to. I find that I have to screw them in the little holes to get them in there, but it works just fine. They don't have any additional holes for speaker stands, but Q Acoustics also sells speaker stands for the Concept 20s. Now let's talk about the interior design of these two speakers, and we're going to start with the 3000i line. One of the hallmarks of the 3000i line is the P2P or point-to-point bracing technology. The purpose is to increase overall rigidity while still making the cabinet quiet, whereas the Concept 20s use an entirely different structure. Basically what Q Acoustics has done is they have created a box within a box. You have the box in which the speaker sits, and then you have the exterior box that we see here. Now in between those two boxes is a layer of non-setting gel that Q Acoustics calls gel core. The point of the gel core is to take the kinetic energy from the inner box, translate that into heat, and therefore give us a much cleaner, clearer sound delivery. And honestly, the Concept 20 is definitely heavier than the 3020i, which is of a similar dimension, but you can actually even hear it when you tap on the cabinets. Not sure if you can hear it there, but the Concept 20 is definitely much denser than the 3000i line. Not saying that the 3020i itself is hollow, but there's definitely a density difference between these two cabinets. Now let's talk about sound quality. To test the sound quality of these 3 speakers, I used both movies and music on my Denon AVR-X 4400H AV receiver. And before I give you my impressions on the sound quality of these 3 and the differences, let's listen to a few audio samples so you can hear them for yourself. Hopefully you enjoyed those audio samples. Now let's talk about my impressions, and I'll start with the soundstage of all three speakers. And the good news is they all do a great job with the soundstage. They have good left-right separation when it's supposed to be there, and voices are nice and centered when they're supposed to be centered. And the other good thing is these are just a touch below neutral in sound. So they're not quite warm, but they're just a touch below neutral. So voices sound nice and natural when they are centered, and that's definitely a good thing. One thing I'll say about the Concept 20 though, that's right here, is that I did find that when listening to live concerts, I felt like I was more there, just a little bit more with the Concept 20 compared to the 3020i or the 3030i. And that might have to do with the cabinet, but I just felt like it was just a little bit more there, which is definitely a good thing. Now let's talk about the highs, mids, and lows of these three speakers. Starting with the highs, I'll say that the Concept 20 and 3020i do a great job in the high department. Everything sounds nice, clean, clear, and crisp, which I like. And the 3030i also does a good job, but it's not quite as good as the 3020i or the Concept 20. And I just feel like the 3030i just needs just a couple dB more in the high department, and it'll be right there. Now, in my original review of the Concept 20s, I noted that I heard a little bit of pitchiness on some female vocals, and I also heard that this time around as well. But I do think that is an issue with one of my speakers and not an issue with the Concept 20s, because I haven't seen anyone else report an issue like that online or even in the comment section since I posted that video over a year ago. So I'm not going to dock the speaker for that. I just think it has something to do with one of my speakers. But overall, I think both the Concept 20 and the 3020i do an excellent job in the high department, with the 3030i doing a good job, but not quite as good as the other two. Now let's talk mid-range. They all do a really good job in the mid-range. I mean, a really good job in the mid-range. It's nice, strong, prominent, and you just have nice natural vocals, and everything is just kind of there. It's got a nice, I don't know, weight to the mid-range that I like out of all three speakers. Now the 3030i is a little bit more prominent and a little bit stronger than both the 3020i and Concept 20s. But the Concept 20s does sound a little bit cleaner, a little bit clearer, and that may be due to the cabinet construction, but it definitely sounds a little bit cleaner and clearer than the 3020i or 3030i. So I think I like it the best, but honestly, this is a very, very close, let's say, horse race. Now let's talk about the low range, the bass. The Concept 20 and 3020i do a pretty good job. They'll play down to about 60 hertz and it sounds decent. But the 3030i wins the bass round because it plays all the way down to 40 hertz, and so you get deeper, more detailed bass out of the 3030i. Now the Concept 20, definitely still has a little bit more clarity than, let's say, the 3020i, but because the 3030i can play deeper and more detail, it definitely sounds better than the Concept 20. Now, while we're talking about bass, I did try the QB12 subwoofer from Q Acoustics with these three speakers, and it sounds great. It matches quite well. You get more depth and more detail in your bass using that subwoofer with all three of these speakers. Now, if you're going to go subwoofer less, I definitely recommend the 3030i, but if you're going to add a subwoofer, a QB12 would be a nice addition to any one of these speakers. So overall, from a sound quality standpoint, all of these do a great job. I like the sound coming out of all three. Now, I do think the Concept 20s do give you just a touch, and I mean a touch more clarity than the 3000i line, but that's probably due to the cabinet construction, and it's only in maybe a few different songs that you notice it. But again, the Concept 20s do have another feature, and that is the dual binding post that we have not talked about. Now, the dual binding posts give you the ability to bi-wire and bi-amp the Concept 20s. And what that means is you can send a dedicated audio signal through speaker wire to the high frequency and a low frequency binding post, and therefore separating out the incoming signal, and it gives you a cleaner, clearer sound. Now, I'm not a fan of bi-wiring because I've never been able to hear an audible difference, but I am a fan of bi-amping. I've heard the difference, and I tried bi-amping with the Concept 20s and my Denon AVR. And what I noticed was music sounded cleaner and clearer. It was almost as if each note had its own lane and it stayed in its lane, which was quite nice. When I listened to live concerts, it felt like I was even more there with the Concept 20s bi-amped than any other configuration of the Concept 20s or the 3000i line. Now, the question is it worth the upgrade going from the 3000 line to the Concept 20s? First of all, that's going to depend on your budget. Can you afford it? But second of all, it's going to depend on if you want to bi-amp. If you're interested in bi-amping and you're an audiophile or budding audiophile or something like that, and you have the budget, pick up the Concept 20s. But if you have no interest in bi-amping, I'd probably stick with a 3000 line because you can save a few dollars. But all of them are great speakers. I like all of them, and I would suggest you get a subwoofer like the QB12 with any one of these, because you will get deeper, better bass, but they all do a great job, and I'm happy to report that. So if you want to pick up these or anything else from Q Acoustics, use those links in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. We'll talk to you next time.